All right, so thank you again so much. So to start it off, we're going to start with a little bit of a poll. So feel free to kind of type
presentation I went to last year.
Really?
free to type in the chat or kind of which you're most interested in when you first get to Dublin. So we can kind of take a look here. So is it A, you're really excited to take pictures at the Cliffs of Moher, B, scenic drive around the Ring of Kerry, C, experience history at the Rock of Cashel, D, wandering the streets of Dublin, E, hike the Wicklow Mountains, or F, the Hope Cliff Walk with fish and chips for lunch. So we will take a moment there. So we've just put the poll in, so feel free to answer there. We'll see which one is coming up as the winner. All right, so it looks like almost everyone has answered at this point. And we have a pretty big winner here. It's going to be D is the winner. So everyone is really excited to wander the streets of Dublin. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful for those of you who haven't been before. Such a great city, such a special country as well. All of these places I highly recommend in visiting and taking the trip to see while you are pursuing your studies at UCD. All right, so to get started, thank you again for all of you who have joined us today, and congratulations on your offer to study at UCD. My name is Carly Harward, and I am the Northeast Regional Representative. I'm based in the New York area, and I cover the region on this map that is highlighted in green, but I'm not the only representative based in the US. So we do have Kendall Hook, who is based in the Southeast region, the area highlighted in yellow, kind of New Jersey down to Florida. Then we have our central region, which is the navy blue highlighted on the map. That is Bridie Troy. She is based in the Chicago area. And our West Coast representative is Chelsea Weaver, highlighted in the light blue, and she is based in Seattle. And I would also like to note at this time that though I do work with students coming into UCD, I also went to UCD myself. I am an alum of a graduate program, having graduated in 2019. So hopefully we'll be able to answer any questions you have about the student experience, but I'm definitely not the only one. We have a current student and an alum on our call today. So if you guys wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and introducing yourself. Jackie, would you mind going first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Vaselli. As you can see on the screen, I graduated with my master's in international relations in 2020. I also spent a study abroad semester at UCD in my spring semester of my junior year, and I loved it so much, which is why I ended up going back for my master's. And I now work at the Irish consulate in New York, so I work with Irish people all the time.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ella Patton. I'm originally from Minnesota, but I'm currently in Ireland in the Masters of Archives and Records Management program. I moved here last September, so I am in the dorms right now. I'm excited to talk to you all about the UCD experience. I'm really enjoying my time here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the two of you for joining our call today, especially Ella, as she is 5 hours ahead of the East Coast at least. So 5 hours ahead of me, 8 hours ahead of probably some of you. So we'll jump right in today. So a little bit about UCD. So we call ourselves Ireland's global university, as 30% of our students are international from over 150 different countries. We have about 9,500 international students on our campus, but a larger population of about 33,000 students between undergrad and postgrad. So we're a suburban campus, maybe 15 to 30 minutes from the city center, depending on how you're getting there. And as you can see, we have academic buildings, student activities, and residences, and it's all easily accessible to students. I like to say that the campus is represented into kind of 3 parts. So on the far right of this map, you see our on-campus accommodations. Then in the middle, between those kind of dusty blue, navy blue buildings, we have our academic buildings. And then on the far left, we have our student and sports facilities on campus. So at UCD, regarding with academics, the way that you will register is a little bit different than what you might be used to at the undergraduate level. Things take place a little bit later than on the US schedule. So we will, your UCD email account actually will not become available until late August. So with some of your undergraduate degrees, you may have gotten that email as soon as you accepted your offer. If you haven't gotten your email yet, you are not behind. That's just the way things go. It will become available later in August. Also, course registration, or as we call it, module registration, class registration, will take place in late August. We have core modules and we have optional modules. So again, a module is a class. So your core modules are going to be anything required for your degree. And typically everyone in that program is taking these core modules at the same point. So you'll have your semester 1 core modules and your semester 2 core modules, and then maybe in your third trimester as well. And then with optional modules, these are going to take, you might have a list of pre-vetted courses that are related to your degree, where you're able to select which ones are maybe most appealing to you or best aligned with your long-term goals, so that you are taking those as well to kind of round out your schedule. Ella or Jackie, do either of you have any feedback on kind of modules and the class system and how that may differ from the undergraduate US system to the postgraduate Irish system?
Yeah, so mine is a little bit different. My program is quite small. There's only 20 people in my master's program. So as a result, I only had 2 electives to choose from for the entire year. So all of my core modules were already laid out, and I actually technically didn't even have to register for them. I would just automatically put into them. So I guess in terms of the variety you'll have, it varies by program. I know some other students who have, I think, like an option of like 10 to 12 different electives that they can take every semester, and you're not taking that many. I am taking the equivalent of like 4 classes a semester. And I would say one of the biggest differences too is how your classes are structured. So all of my classes, I meet once a week for 2 hours. Versus I know like in the States and undergrad, you were meeting for maybe 1 hour, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So there's a lot more incentive to like be there consistently all of the time because you are meeting once a week. And if you miss it, you definitely can miss a lot of information.
Yeah, my classes were 2 hours long as well. But for my program, I had a lot more options for optional modules. So I only had I think it was 3 core modules in total, and the rest of it I could take whatever classes I wanted to, which was great because they had some classes that I could never take here in the States, like Irish politics, European politics, gender classes, like that kind of thing. And so I was really able to kind of customize my degree to what I wanted to study in. So that was a really great option for me because I really liked being able to choose my own classes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to cover, as there are 3 of us who are completing or have completed our degree here today, there are over 200 graduate degrees at UCD. So there will be a bit of variation. So you may hear us say, well, in my course, it was this way. So it may fluctuate from course to course, as there are over 200. So regarding module information, class information, all of that will come directly from your program because there are so many and they are so specific. All of this information will come directly from your program office. A few other things that may be different from the US to academics at UCD will be, there may be less grades than what you're used to. You may have just a midterm and a final. You may have just a final. There's probably going to be less continuous assessment than what you may be used to from the US system. I know for me, it was coming up to that first midterm in October, and I didn't have any assignment that I had to turn in yet. At that point, I was just going to class and showing up and participating. And that felt very different to what I was used to. In the US, usually by week 2, I had a few smaller assignments and I had grades. I knew where my standing was in class, and that wasn't the case on the Irish system. So that may be something you're a little unused to. Something else that's different that took me a minute to realize was the results of final exams. They come out a bit later than what you're used to in the States as well. Often they are released up to 6 weeks. So after your fall semester, usually about 6 weeks after is when you're getting your results, and then same for the spring. Jackie and Ella, would you find the same in that as well? Yeah. All right. So when it comes to accepting your offer at UCD, the way to do that is to log into your UCD account on our SysWeb platform, and you choose the offer of admission to the program you would like to accept. So if you applied to multiple programs and received multiple different offers, you will just need to go in and select accept and pay your tuition deposit to the program that you wish to accept. Same if you only applied to one and only received one offer, you still need to go in, click accept, and pay your tuition deposit. This has to be completed by the date stated on your offer letter. Once you have fully accepted your offer, you will be issued a UCD student number. So if you haven't accepted your offer already, you probably have an ID number that begins with an A followed by a series of letters. Once you've fully accepted your offer, that will then switch over to a number starting with the number 2 followed by a series of numbers. So again, check your offer letter for your decision deadline, as that's incredibly important, and the tuition deposit will be stated on there as well. And then for all of you, whether you are in the midst of completing your undergraduate degree or that's something that you've already completed, you just need to ensure that all of your final and official transcripts are sent this summer to North America at ucd.ie. That can be sent at any point if you've already completed your degree. Obviously, if you haven't, we need that after you've completed your degree. And these transcripts do have to come from your undergraduate institution or institutions if you attended multiple. So for them to be considered final and official, they do have to come from the institution, but they can be sent electronically to North America at ucd.ie. So for those of you that don't know, at UCD, we actually can accept US federal aid through the FAFSA. So we also accept VA benefits and the GI Bill. Due to being an international institution, we are unable to accept grants, or Pell Grants rather. So if on your FAFSA or when you receive that information, if it says that you are eligible for Pell Grants, you would not be able to use these at UCD due to being due to being an international institution. So you can consult your email for federal aid instruction brochure and the UCD cost of attendance. Those have not gone out yet. Our cost of attendance will be coming out in the next few weeks or so to a month, but we do have a federal aid office at UCD, so you can email federalaid@ucd.ie, and they'll be happy to answer any of your queries relating to federal aid or using your US federal aid at UCD. So the process differs from US universities. We do have our separate UCD final aid application. It is due July 31st for a timely disbursement. So the first step is to ensure that you have indicated UCD on your FAFSA. And then after that, you will need to upload all of the required documents to the UCD financial aid application, which has not opened yet, but it will be due on July 31st. So just something to be aware of. To those with internships and SPIRE programs at UCD, you will need to contact federal aid just for queries on that, as there are some limitations to kind of programs with large internship components. So I just recommend that you reach out to federal aid at ucd.ie if that applies to you. We also have global scholarships available at UCD. So we do have our Global Excellence Scholarship. The deadline is coming up at the end of this month, March 31st. It is one of our most competitive scholarships at UCD, but it is eligible to US students. So in order to apply, you need to have already received an offer from UCD, which if you're attending this event, you probably already have. Not all programs are eligible for this scholarship, so you will need to consult our document online to ensure that your program is eligible, and it would also show up on SysWeb if you are eligible to apply for this scholarship. They vary in worth from 50 to 100%, and they are merit-based scholarships. As I said, they are incredibly competitive, but I always recommend applying because you never know. And please feel free to consult your offer letter for possible international student scholarships. So we do have partial scholarships available as well that are awarded at the time of decision based on application materials. And if that has been awarded to you, it will be located and disclosed as to the amount on your offer letter. So on-campus accommodation, we're kind of switching gears a little bit to life at UCD at this point. So at UCD, as I kind of highlighted at the beginning, we do have on-campus accommodation options. They are available for graduate students, though it is limited. So housing availability is limited for graduate students, but it is ongoing. We recommend the Belfield campus unless you're studying at Smurfit, our business school, then the Black Rock campus. But Belfield is our main campus at UCD, and it's where the majority of our programs take place. Like I said, with Smurfit, we do have accommodations there as well, but that would be more for our business students. So we have 38-week and 50-week options. Reason for that is most graduate programs are going to be 3 trimesters in length. And please pay attention to your emails. So the email that you have listed on your SysWeb account is where you will receive the majority of your communication regarding this process. So please keep in touch via your email, keep an eye on that, and just make sure that you are not missing any important information. But regarding on-campus accommodation, Ella, would you mind kind of sharing a little bit about your experience as you do currently live on campus?
Yeah, of course. So I live on the Belfield campus in a set of apartments called the Glenomena apartments. Glenomena is one of the 3 apartments that you can do the 50-week options in. There are only certain on-campus housing that you can do the 3-semester options in, and I live in one of those. I really like it in terms of convenience. It's really nice to be directly on campus, especially with my classes. I have some friends who do live in third-party student housing, and while those places are still very nice to live in, they have anywhere from a 25 to 35-minute bus commute every day if they want to get to campus, whereas I just get to leave and walk out the door, which is definitely a big perk when it's raining or when it's cold out. So in Glenomena, they have kind of 6-person apartments. So I have 5 flatmates that I live with because we each have our own room and our own bathroom. We just share a kitchen and a living room, which definitely makes living a lot easier. One thing about the housing process that I found really helpful when I was applying for is when you go to apply for housing, I'm not sure, Claire, sorry if you said housing applications were still open or if they've gone out yet. But when they do happen, it'll tell you what kind of level the other people in that apartment you're applying for are at. So it'll say the person's name, and then it'll say whether they're at the graduate or undergraduate level, which was very nice because I in particular wanted to live with other graduate students, and I was able to. All of my flatmates and I are postgraduates. We're all in different master's programs, which definitely has been a little bit nicer to not live with 18-year-olds fresh out of secondary school. In terms of people who live in on-campus housing, there are both Irish students and there are a fair amount of international students. All of my flatmates are international students, and I know there's quite a lot of other flats in my dorm in particular that are almost all international students. So there's quite a few of us in the dorms on campus. Overall, I would say I enjoy it. It's nice to have a fully furnished apartment to come back to. You can live both here, the Village, Proby, Belgrove. Proby is out on Smurfit, so I do know there are a lot of international students who are in business or finance masters who have a lot of classes on Smurfit who live in Proby because that's in the Black Rock campus. The Black Rock campus, though, is still quite close to Belgrove. If you get the 17 bus, it's only about a 15-20-minute bus ride, depending on how many stops the bus makes. So still quite accessible, or it's a 30-minute walk. It really depends on whether or not you feel like walking that day. I think that's kind of all I've got on housing. I have had a good time, and I have been lucky to get along quite well with my flatmates as well. So I've made some really good friends from them, and we do a lot of stuff together, both in the apartment and going out and doing other things.
Great, thank you so much. And now we will transition over to the off-campus accommodation. So as we know, on-campus accommodation is quite limited. Just to put it in perspective of numbers, we have over 33,000 students overall that attend UCD, and on-campus accommodation for just over 4,000 students. So as you can tell, the majority of our students are living off-campus. I myself lived in off-campus accommodation when I was a student at UCD, and Jackie, I believe you did as well. Did you live off-campus?
Yeah, so I had both experiences because when I was studying abroad for my semester, I lived in Belgrove on campus, which was excellent. I was able to get up like 20 minutes before classes and literally go across the street to the Newman building where most of my classes were. And I loved it. I had 3 other flatmates. We all had our own separate room. And we had 2 bathrooms we had to share, and we had shared kitchen and living room. And then when I did my graduate program, I decided to live off campus. And I obviously had a bit of a longer commute. So there's kind of pros and cons to both.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to off-campus accommodation in Dublin, it is private accommodation. So the first thing I want to say is that we advise that you never hand over money for accommodation in the private rental sector without viewing the property in person and receiving a lease. And we also recommend that you not sign a lease before seeing the space in person as well. So on our website, we do have multiple different references and resources to finding off-campus accommodation, and a lot of other resources available. When it comes to a question I get a lot is where do students live? Really, that can be almost anywhere. You know, I had friends that lived off campus, but they lived maybe a 5-10 minute walk from campus. And then I also had friends that lived off campus like myself that were maybe a 30-minute commute in or further. So it really does depend. There are students all over Dublin. Dublin's an incredibly student-friendly city. There's many different universities within the area. So you'll find that it's a student-friendly city, and students really are kind of everywhere. The bus makes it incredibly accessible, both getting in and out of campus through the city center. There are 3 bus stops either on or right near campus with services and routes that can take you in the city center or to other areas of Dublin as well. So when it comes to arriving to UCD, some key dates and things to note that we do have some pre-arrival webinars planned over the summer with a few different updates that will come up. We have new student orientation. It's scheduled to begin September 4th on this year, 2023. It covers things such as academic information, international student-specific events, and more social events. We do have our UCD Global Orientation, which is going to be more of that international student aspect, and then you will receive academic orientation information from your program. And again, because of the variety of programs that we have, your academic orientation will look different, and it may look different to each of you in the room today. On-campus accommodation is set to open on September 1st this year. The first day of classes is scheduled for September 11th of this year. I do want to note that for the past 3 years, there has been a slight change to the undergraduate start date from when we have said, so they have started a bit later than graduate students. In the past 3 years, this change has not impacted the postgraduate start date, but I do just want to make you aware of that. We also have a Facebook group. I'll be sending these slides out as well with all of the different links and such. But if you haven't already, recommend joining the North America Facebook group. It's a great way to connect with students from the US and Canada that will be attending UCD for their postgraduate or undergraduate studies. And some of the North America Global Center staff is available on there as well if you have any kind of quick questions or anything. So our important dates, we have our student orientation, semester 1 starts, and then you have your final exams between the 9th to the 21st of December. Should look pretty similar to what you're used to in the US. Same for the spring semester, maybe a little bit later start date than what you might be used to. January 23rd is when our semester 2 will start. We have our spring break from March 11th to the 24th. Now for graduate programs, this may be a break. This may be a period for some field work, for some research work. That can vary depending on program as well. And then our semester 2 final exams are scheduled the 4th through the 18th of May. And then summer trimester dates and more can be found on our key dates website. So life on campus. UCD is an incredibly student-friendly, bustling campus, in my opinion. There's over 130 different clubs and societies. The Student and Sports Center is a hub for student activity on campus. There's always something different going on. There's also restaurants, cafes, bookshops, a bike shop, barber shop, post office, grocery store, a pharmacy as well, all right on campus. And then, like I said, you're about 20 to 30 minutes into the city center by bus if you need any of those other items, and even closer to maybe some larger grocery stores or kind of stop shops that you may need access to. We also have the UCD Global Lounge, which is the center of international students on campus, and they would host multiple different activities for students. For the US, I think 2 of our most popular programs are maybe US Thanksgiving, which is just a Thursday in Ireland in November. So there's a nice Thanksgiving dinner for our US students on campus. And then the Super Bowl would be quite popular as well, where they are typically streaming it in real time. So you may be staying up quite late to start watching the game for the Super Bowl. But Ella or Jackie, do either of you have anything else to add about your experience with student life on campus and being involved?
I was really involved with the International Student Society. I highly recommend even looking at the society. In the beginning of the semester, there's like a big fair day where you can kind of sign up for them. And I loved the International Student Society because I got to meet other international students. And they also had like day trips and activities to do throughout Ireland. So I really got to be able to see a lot of different parts of Ireland through that. And I also was part of the French club as well, because I liked learning French and being able to speak French with other students. And they even had a trip to France, I believe. So yeah, the societies are very interesting and very cool. I highly recommend getting involved.
Yeah, like Jackie said, I'm not as involved with the International Student Society, but I am a member of LitSoc, which is the literary society. So they have weekly book like meetings for books that people are reading. They have writing lessons. They have something called the Caveat Lector, which is a literature magazine. And so I've actually gotten poetry published in the Caveat Lector for UCD. And then I'm also involved in TradSoc, which is the Traditional Irish Music Society. So they have like weekly sessions. They do music lessons for both beginners, intermediate, and advanced players on lots of different types of instruments. Those are kind of the 2 main societies I'm involved with, but like Jackie said, there's hundreds of societies. There's societies for everything. There is constantly something that's going on. One thing I enjoy, UCD this year has been sending out kind of every 2 weeks of what's going on campus. And so you get an email that has like all of the next big events for the next 2 weeks listed on campus, which is really nice. So I've gotten to do poetry workshops. I got to go see movies because they do screenings. This week they're doing a screening of On Colin Keown, the new movie that came out recently in the theater on campus, and just lots of other events. They do, I know, like as part of ISS, they do also like Holi celebrations. They did Diwali. They've, for Indian students, they've did a Chinese New Year celebration. So there's a very big emphasis on like all sorts of cultures being involved, and you can go to those events as well. Like even if you aren't part of the specific cultural that event is being put on for, which is really nice.
For me as well, there was a lot of events through my own school. So I was part of Spire. So they had a lot of like talks and different events going on, and also like career-based events, like what could life be working as in the government, for example. So a lot of different things going on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know one thing that I was always concerned about when I first went to UCD for graduate school was, am I going to be the only graduate student? Am I going to be the oldest one in these clubs and societies? And I didn't find that. I found that even though I was a graduate student, it was incredibly welcoming, and everybody wanted me to get involved, and I had such a great experience. I'm still in contact with the friends that I made through my clubs and societies on campus as well. So regarding career and alumni support, UCD is the #1 in Ireland 4 years in a row for graduate employability. We have nearly 300,000 alum around the world. We have 14 alumni chapters just in North America. We also have the UCD Alumni Network, which is available now in your incoming student portal. And then as a graduate of an Irish institution for a postgraduate degree, US and Canadian passport holders would be eligible for a 2-year stay-back visa after graduation to seek employment. You do have to apply for that each year. So the way that it works is after you graduate from UCD, you're eligible to apply for a 1-year stay-back visa to seek full-time employment for 40 hours a week. And then you are eligible for a 2nd year as well on an application basis. And Jackie, do you want to cover anything about that, just as you're kind of our immigration and resident here?
Yeah, so I mean, it's very basically what you said. After when you're in Ireland, you're on a stamp 2 visa. Once you graduate and you have your results, you can apply for what is called a 1G visa. And yeah, it's eligible for 1 year. And then you can renew it afterwards. What's great about it is that you can work for any employer. You have no restrictions whatsoever, unlike some employment visas, you might be restricted. But for that, it's great because you can work for anyone in Ireland.
Thank you. So coming up, we have a few different in-person events. Obviously, we're having this virtual event today, and then we'll be having 20 different in-person meet and greets throughout the country and in Canada as well. So you should have received an email regarding our different events coming up, and you will be receiving a reminder email in the coming days and weeks as well. We do ask that you please sign up. Some of these will be closing soon as the dates are quickly approaching, but as you can see here, a wide variety of events happening. They are open to undergraduate and postgraduate students. If you happen to be traveling outside of where you reside and you see, hey, I'm actually going to be here and there's an event that date, feel free to register for that event as well. Just note that there may be a different representative present, but there will be North America Global Center representatives there, other admitted students, maybe some alumni and some UCD staff and faculty present at some of these events as well. Some will be, some of our larger events will be more kind of formal, whereas others may be kind of a sit and chat at those smaller events. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your regional representative regarding these upcoming events. So planning ahead, I know this is something that's probably at the top of all of your minds, is how do I get to Ireland? How do I study here? Do I need to apply for my visa? The short answer is no. If you are a US or Canadian passport holder, you do not need to apply for a study visa prior to entering Ireland. Your passport must be valid, so please check that now. And if it's not, please apply for a new passport. So the way that it works is when you're coming into the country, we have a recommended list of documents that we ask that you have with you on your person. When you arrive in country, you meet with immigration at Irish Border Control. They will look through, and the immigration officer has the ability to stamp you in for up to 90 days. From that point, you will then need to register with immigration to have your student visa and your passport kind of all pass through in person, and then they will mail you an Irish residency permit card. That is something that has to be done each year. So if applying for that stay-back visa, again, that just needs to be done each year. Something else to note is it is a €300 fee per year as well. So some other things on the to-do list will be to attend some pre-arrival summer webinars, we have some tips on our offer holder site, attending our September orientation. You'll be registering for your classes later in the summer, and then moving to Dublin and starting class. So another immigration requirement is going to be health insurance. So private health insurance is required in order to satisfy one of our immigration requirements in Ireland. And we also have information on that on our website regarding on how to meet those requirements, some student plans that we have available for students as well is available on our immigration website. We also have UCD Student Health Services. It's open from 9:30 to 4 p.m. on campus. Like I said, we have a pharmacy on campus as well. If you happen to get sick outside of business hours, which most of the time we do, they can be made, you can make appointments at nearby urgent care clinics, and there's also a hospital, if needed, quite close to campus as well. Jackie, do you have anything to add on kind of immigration or health insurance?
Yeah, the question I get a lot at work is, do I really not have to apply for a visa beforehand? And the answer is no, you do not. And please do not apply. You don't need to. It is very weird because I feel like if you're going somewhere long term, you're kind of used to being like, oh, well, I need a visa. But we're very lucky as US citizens or Canadian citizens that no, you just need to, show up to the airport, say, hi, I'm actually going to be studying here for a course at UCD. Show your acceptance letter, your deposit form, anything that you kind of have that would be great to show. And yeah, I mean, you'll be good to go. You just need to register within 90 days, and you would have to call up and make an appointment. But yeah, it's not as scary as everyone thinks. You'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we want you to do is connect. So at this point for this webinar, we'll have an opportunity where you can all kind of ask questions, get to know each other. But we also ask that you follow us on Instagram. So we have UCD Global on Instagram. There is a post from earlier this week that we ask that you comment where you're from in the US and what you're studying. And 5 North American students that comment by March 8th, so you have a few days, will be randomly selected for some free swag that we will mail to you. So if you say where you're from in the US and what you're studying, it's a great way to get to know others in the US and just around the world that will be coming to UCD in 2023. So we ask that you engage with that there. So here are a few different resources that we have. Like I said, this presentation will be emailed out to you. So if there are links, you'll be able to click on them, but we do have our UCD offer holder site. We have our incoming student portal, also known as SysWeb. We have just North America Global Center staff, your regional representatives that we highlighted at the beginning of this presentation, and UCD Global staff on campus. We have our Facebook group. We also have UCD Access and Disability Supports on campus. And just some reminders is to check your email often. Please ensure that it is an email you will continue to have access to and you're able to check frequently. Connect with other accepted students and current students, log in regularly to your incoming student portal, read your offer pack, follow our social media accounts, and attend any upcoming events that we may have.